This video brought to you by Galaxy Lamps. Make your room look like your favorite streamers with 15% off using code Filmento.
What the f you say to me, you little shit?
If you actually think you're coming to rob this house, that ain't happening. Right, Nitro? You tell him, Nitro Zeus. Yeah. Look at that arm. That arm is like, it's like bigger than rocks. Look at him, we'll give you the hero shot.
Whoa! Nitro, get down, boy. Hold back, it's too dangerous.
Ambulance is a new action movie about family man Will, who joins up with his brother from another mother Danny to rob a bank in central Los Angeles, which goes badly wrong and forces them on a 5-star police chase across the city. A very specific type of 5-star police chase, because they're in an ambulance with a wounded cop on board that they need to keep alive to stay alive. And the main reason I'm covering this movie here today is the director behind it, the one and only Michael Bay. If you've been here for a while, you know I've been quite critical of Michael Bay before, especially due to his infamous Triple B style of filmmaking, which you by now know as...
Oh my God!
But the thing Ambulance makes very clear is that Michael Bay's style isn't actually Triple B filmmaking, but rather Quadruple B filmmaking, the last of those B's being the most important piece behind his success, Bayhem. The word itself has become a bit of a meme, but this movie is a great showcase of Bayhem's effectiveness and why Michael Bay genuinely is one of the most talented action directors in Hollywood if he only cares enough to try. Because Ambulance is way better than it has any right to be. It's an intense heist thriller along the lines of Heat. It's a masterclass in action along the lines of Terminator 2. It's a $40 million movie that Michael Bay somehow turns into a $100 million movie in a way that only he can. And so the question then is, how does he do that? What is Bayhem? Well, there are already great videos about the visual side of that. It's how Michael Bay makes everything feel big and significant, whether it's with intense camera movement or by shooting people and objects as giants or by just in general filling his frames with entertainment value. But visuals aside, what I'd like to focus on today is the narrative side of Bayhem. What does Michael Bay do on the page to achieve that very distinct Michael Bay blockbuster feel? Some of the stuff we've covered before, but Ambulance gives great new context to examine it further. I do also want to shout out the writer who planted the seeds to a lot of the stuff we're gonna discuss, but the way it ultimately appears in the movie is very much due to the Michael Bay effect. And so here it is. Here's a few key writing qualities of Bayhem and how to use it to make your own action movie stand out. One main element of Bayhem is the act of piling multiple problems on top of each other to create an increased sense of intensity and thrill and overall entertainment. As an example, look at the beginning heist. Essentially, Will is a former soldier who needs money to pay for his wife's surgery, and so he turns to his adoptive family brother Danny, who can only offer a job like in the old days.
Alright, look, I don't have it. Everything I have is tied up in the score, right? And it's tight.
And so Will goes along. He joins Danny's hired crew with the simple plan of walk into the bank to get the money and then drive off in the getaway car.
Plan is simple. Things gonna go just fine.
Except in practice, it's far from simple because multiple issues arise throughout the robbery. Firstly, the robbery is cut short when a cop shows up to ask out one of the workers while his partner waits outside. On top of that, the hired crew has been tracked by a special forces unit who are outside waiting to ambush them. On top of that, the newly modified getaway car has engine trouble. And on top of that, it's the partner cop outside who comes to check it out. You know, instead of a simple robbery, there's so many things wrong here simultaneously that it's insanely intense to watch, until finally all of it unravels. The cop partner realizes what's going on and blows the lid off.
Get out! Get out! You motherfucker!
The special forces unit jumps into action and very quickly mows down the entire hired crew. Will and Danny get blocked inside the building until the hostage cop plays hero and forces Will to do the one thing that robbers who want to stay alive cannot do.
What are you
To build on this, look at the chase the heroes then get into in the ambulance that they've commandeered. Not only are they escaping police that they cannot escape because of helos, they also have to help the EMT on board Cam to keep the shot cop alive, or the LAPD is just gonna wipe them out. And it doesn't stop there, things keep piling up as we go. Cam eventually realizes that the cop isn't stable but was actually shot twice, which means that she's gonna have to operate on him, except she's not qualified, so she needs to call surgeons to guide her on FaceTime, which isn't helped by the fact that there's still a car chase going on.
Slow down, man! We're like we're playing live operation back here!
Or by the fact that the cop wakes up in the middle of surgery.
Oh, yeah, he is fully...
Hold him down, I'm in his gun!
Or by the fact that the bullet is caught in the cop's spleen, which then erupts as the call with the doctors cuts out.
First gun, what do? I don't know what to do in this situation. I used all the f***ing
And even though they by sheer miracle managed to patch the cop's wound, it ultimately doesn't even matter, because the police have been monitoring their calls and now believe that the cop is dead, and so they're setting up a kill box which might get everybody shot.
Snipers! Snipers!
Where? Black building!
Once again, it's not just a chase, not just a medical emergency. There's so many consecutive issues piling on top of each other that the intensity level is off the charts. Even toward the end, once they lose the cops with the help of the cartel, it doesn't get any easier. The cartel boss's son died in the diversion, and so now he wants revenge on top of the money.
You brought that woman into my inner sanctum. We're gonna take him off your hands.
And when Will's refusal launches them into a war with the cartel in a way that alerts the cops, Cam accidentally shoots Will in the chest in the chaos.
Who shot him? I don't know.
Meaning that now, not only do they need to flee police and the cartel, Cam also needs to keep Will alive and hide what happened at any cost. Because if he dies and Danny finds out the truth, it's game over for everyone.
This is a cop's gun. This is a Glock. Is this your gun? Where did this gun come from? You shoot him? You shot?
Point is, problems mean conflict. Conflict means drama, and drama is the heart of all entertainment. And if you want to play in the big Bayhem leagues like Michael Bay, then just one problem at a time isn't enough. You need to stack them up until you reach the sky, and then keep on stacking. Another key Bayhem element on display here is that whatever Michael Bay does, he always pushes it to the absolute extreme. This can, for example, mean the nature of the obstacles and situations that characters face, like in Cam's introduction where she's the first responder to a car accident. It's not just any kind of car accident, it's a little girl impaled by an iron bar in the back seat, which Michael Bay shows in gory close-up.
Take a deep breath for me. Deep breath, deep breath.
A lot of filmmakers would stray away from going too far with this, but the reason Michael Bay doesn't is because it's a very effective way to establish Cam as a character. Despite the gruesome extremity of the situation, she handles it like a pro. She's calming the girl down. She's hiding her own feelings perfectly. She essentially wins the audience over by overcoming that which they can barely even look at. And this is how you build strong characters, including strong female characters. A strong female character isn't someone who gets demeaned by men for no apparent reason.
You look, huh? I like it.
It's someone who faces extreme challenges and pulls through them thanks to her firm belief in what she does. Another example of extremity is the way plot beats are conveyed and played out, like with the heist in the beginning. The main narrative gist here is that the robbery goes wrong, and how is that information conveyed? By just showing guys get shot in the chest and be arrested. Not in this movie. One guy gets run over by his own getaway car. Another guy gets his head blown off mid-sentence. Another guy goes down and slowly bleeds out on the curb. Seeing how this plot beat plays out, it becomes very clear that the brothers' plan got messed up big time and that they are now indeed in the deepest shit. Or on the opposite end, how is the plot point of the brothers losing the cops conveyed? Well, by having a decoy ambulance explode into a roadblock and by having a cartel murdermobile shoot everything and everyone in sight, including the Special Forces commander. Very clearly, you gain the information that yes, the cops are done for now. Another example of extremity is emotions that characters express, which in the ambulance for instance are constantly spiking off the charts. Danny's getting pissed off by cops and others not respecting him for who he is and what he's capable of.
Get your helos out of here now!
Will is torn between desperately trying to keep things together and just losing himself over what he's done.
We don't get to walk off into the sunset, Danny. We f***ed up.
Even though we spend a lot of time in a contained setting, it doesn't get stale because the character's emotions are not in any way contained.
Squiggly, yeah, I know. I just
Danny, the only button that says charge!
Atari game. I don't.
Another extremity example is the motivations of the characters, which extend not only to the main heroes but also to secondary characters as well, like the partner of the dying cop. He isn't trying to save the cop just because it's his partner. No, his motivation is fueled by fear and regret because he's the reason the cop is dying in the first place.
I had him go in for a girl. It's my fault. I had him go in for a girl.
When you have extremely strong motivations clashing together, that's how you get to strong impression-making moments like a cop not backing from a chase at any cost,
What the hell is this? I can't shake this guy.
to the point where the robber loses himself to psychoticness and hangs a woman off the back of a speeding car with a rifle.
Back up. Back up. I'm not backing off.
And overall, the extreme nature of Bayhem means finding the most impactful version of everything. When Michael Bay films a downtown bank shootout, he doesn't do it in a Marvel green screen room. He goes downtown to shoot the place up. When he films a canal chase with helicopters, he goes to a canal with real helicopters and real people hanging out of speeding cars. A lot of modern filmmakers are proud of the fact that their movies are fake.
Here are actually CG. This car right here is CG. This car is not really there. And this door is not really there. The guardrail is not actually there. Digital sparks that are coming up here. This is a digital car. All the blood is digital anyway. This is digital. This is digital. The wheels here are CG because the wheels aren't rolling. Little things like that. Who's going to know?
But Michael Bay still remains one of those hands-on directors who loses sleep over the fact that there's like 2 mediocre CGI helicopter shots in his new movie.
There's not a lot of CGI. Some of the CGI is poopy in this movie. There's a couple shots I wasn't happy with.
Which is why pretty much the only other action movies that reach his level are those made by Tom Cruise and Chris Nolan. Point is that whatever it is you do, to achieve the Bayhem version of it, you need to push it to the absolute max and go as far with it as you possibly can. The last main Bayhem element for the day is the way Michael Bay always adds extra unbelonging variables in his scenes to up their entertainment value. This can for example mean fresh new technology, like the racing drone cameras here, which produce some really incredible footage.
I've done 9 movies with Michael, and one of my first jobs on every movie is, what's the newest, coolest gear out there?
Or it can mean mining comedy out of things that aren't supposed to be there. When the crew is all pumped up and ready to enter the bank, an old lady suddenly joins them in the elevator to break the mood. When Danny is trying to explain the getaway plan to his employee, the subject quickly changes to something entirely else.
But I'm watching the game right now and I got money on it, so what's going on?
Soccer?
Flamingos just got here. What you want me to do with them?
No! The blue paint comes with a spray gun!
Blue paint, sprayer, flamingos.
No! Not the flamingo!
It can get a bit too goofy at times here as per usual with Michael Bay, but the point is that these unnecessary sources of comedy disrupt the monotony of the scenes. When your movie has been all intensity for the last whatever minutes, it can be useful to suddenly have the heroes vibe to music to break things up, because movies aren't meant to be one emotion, they're meant to be a roller coaster of emotions.
And I met you in the summer.
Stop! Stop! I can't. It doesn't show me out.
Or this can mean giving characters something extra to separate them, like with the hired crew members. They don't get any real individual screen time, but they still have something of their own. One guy looks like Mel Gibson according to Danny.
In that movie Braveheart, I mean, doesn't he look like that guy?
Another is constantly on the phone with his New Jersey wife.
Nothing to do all day but bust my balls. I told you I'm busy.
Another shows up to rob a bank in flip-flops. This isn't a substitute for real character development, but it does help the audience distinguish characters with little time.
Send more sandals, dude.
It's not easy to remember a blank tough Special Forces commander, but it is easier to remember a blank tough Special Forces commander who drives a tiny car and basically acts like your dad's all-American friend.
The guy driving is possibly Lewis Hamilton. Who's that? Basketball player or something?
Or this can mean taking characters and instances out of their ordinary habitat. When Cam has to operate on the cop and she calls surgeons for help, they're not at the hospital as you might expect. They're out golfing. Will and Danny aren't your usual brothers bound by blood, but by something else, which makes that brotherly bond not only different than usual, but also in some ways even stronger.
Would you say that he's my pretend brother?
He's my real brother.
You know, instead of things playing out as designed by the book, there's something else there to make them appear in a way that they normally wouldn't. I could go on and on for as long as the movie plays, but I really recommend you watch it yourself with this in mind, because nobody uses extra variables more than Michael Bay. I mean, this is a guy who references his own movies in his own movie.
Remember when Sean Connery said, losers whine, winners get the prom queen?
This is a guy who puts his own dog in the action, not in the background, but in a way that affects the plot.
Pull back, it's too dangerous.
So yeah, Michael Bay does go a bit too far with this from time to time. If he wants police to shoot up what they believe to be the real ambulance, or police choppers to hover close to the armed robbers to make them even angrier, he doesn't really pay too much mind on how little sense that makes in the larger context. But that said, the main point you want to take from him is that mentality of dissatisfaction, that thought in the back of your head that says, okay, here's the scene, but what more could there be? How can I make this more exciting, or more funny, more entertaining? Because as much criticism as Michael Bay gets, for understandable reasons, if he genuinely cares about the movie he's making, he has the talents to be among the very best that Hollywood in terms of action has to offer. People like Steven Spielberg saw that from the very beginning, and it could be useful for you and your movie script to see it too. Because in order to make your action movie truly stand out among the pack, it could help to sprinkle in some... tell 'em, Shia. As one last thing, here's a special message to all of you still feeling trapped inside your home. Instead of having to look at boring blank walls, you could add in some extra Bayhem with a galaxy projector. Essentially, it's a small device that casts colorful space-like light to engulf your room like your own indoor galaxy. It's very easy to use, just set it down and control it with an app on your phone. You can change the color, change the rotation speed, set timers and schedules and whatever, or you can just use one of the 6 pre-existing settings. It can even be set up with Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. You know, if you want your room to look as cool as your favorite streamers...
How are you not in school?
This is a very easy way to do it. If you want to see more, click the link below and use code Filmento to get a 15% discount on the projector as well as the brand's other similar devices. I'm sure your room is fine right now, but if you want to think like Michael Bay, it could be something more.